Yeah, just while we are waiting for everyone else, I could share a small teaser of upcoming meetups. So you see that we have the planet, about 11 planet meetups till end of the year. And we mostly are focusing on how you really could benefit from the analytics from the business perspective, mainly analyzing clients, analyzing client customer experience, analyzing business models. So everything that is could be used for better understanding digital experience and customer experience. So you could find all these meetups already in our planned meetups. Okay, I think we are ready to go, and today we will look at what's new, or if we look at it in the past 5 months or past five updates of Power BI desktop, and some service features, that what's actually new during this time. And of course, there are more than 100 features rolled out, but today I want to cover the most interesting that could be useful for you. So I picked like editorial pick. I picked the most interesting functions for you, and put them. Also, actually put them in 4 buckets. And if you think about why we are using analytics, why we not analytics itself, but why we are doing the quantitative visualization of quantitative information or quantitative data, and there's actually only one reason why we are doing this, because we want to explain something to ourselves or to others. So that is why we are doing the visualization and analytics, because we don't want to miss something. We want to understand the environment and so on. And if we look at these 4 buckets, first is how to make our visualizations and reports more readable. So we could use a couple of visualization techniques. And what we have a new in this category, we have a drop shadows for the tiles, interesting functionality, how we could select the dots in the line chart, gradient legend, and Azure Maps for map presentation. A second category actually helps the users of the report easier to use and read the reports, and I call it usability, or user experience functionality, like single filter, conditional navigation, mobile layout, and many other functions. Here we will look at all of them. And then there are more or less more technical categories, like how we could work with the performance, and how we could work with the tools, like new DAX functions. I put it in a tools category. So we will go through these functions. I have the demo for all of them. So let's move on quickly to be able to see all the demos. And first, we will start with my tools with a new financial DAX function. So we, from the latest release, August release, we have additionally 49 financial DAX functions. So for specific financial calculations, like what kind of there is um, a different calculations that's very specific to financial world, like rate of interest rate and things like that. All these functions previously was available were available in Excel, so you probably use it, and now it's available in um, in Power BI. So this is only one without a demo. Next thing, Probably you've seen somewhere that there's a new tab available in Power BI called External Tools. And you've probably seen here a couple of functions. In my case, it's only DAX Studio. Let's look at Power BI itself. So I hope you see my Power BI screen now. Okay, yeah, I'm showing to the Power BI, and usually external tools tab is visible only if you installed these external tools after this update to the newest Power BI version. So if you, for example, if you installed DAX Studio before that, you will not see it. So you need to reinstall it. And how it works, for example, with a DAX Studio. DAX Studio is a free software you could download, and it help you to work with different calculations in DAX and some formatting. But I'm using it for some specific use cases. For example, we see that here our tables. So we could see that we have two tables, and we can see them here. So financials, for example, and we could use it's directly when we click here on DAX Studio. It's directly connected to this Power BI file. So let's use some function. Here is a function evaluate that returns all the records from this table, and I click run, and we could see that what was selected. And one of the most useful use cases is export. And imagine if your table contains million of rows, couple of million, several million, for example. It's easy to get in Power BI, and you need to export it to CSV file. It's hard to do, and you could do it easily with DAX Studio. So you could say output will be a file, and then you click run, and it will be allow you to save all your million rows into CSV file. Okay, switch back. Next, let's go to make it readable functions. And first of the really nice functions, nice function is a background for, not background, but drop shadow for the tiles. So you could see how this looks without shadows and how it looks with shadows. So if we take, for example, this one, we just click on the tile, and then we go into the format section, and we could say that there is a shadow option. We say drop shadow, and it immediately we have the drop shadow. We could have a calculation for the color if we want. It could be outside or inside. Outside is a little bit looking better, so we could also do some positioning for this drop shadow, imitating where the light is, from where light is coming. Of course, I advise you to use this drop shadow in the same way for all tiles. So, and immediately why it's useful functionality, because immediately you are having this more using this drop shadow, your report start looking more structured, and you don't need to put some image on the background, or draw lines or draw rectangles as we did previously. So you could just use this drop shadow, and your report will look more structured and with a better structure. So very nice feature. Next one is how to add this red different kind of dots on your line chart. Imagine that you have this you have line chart, and you want to emphasize or focus on some values. So again, previously it was hard to do. Now it's easier. So let's look at this line chart. So how it works. So if we click a line chart and we click on the format section, and here is a data colors option, and we could say show in a default. We will have the show all off, and if we click on, we see all the data points here. Of course, if you have a large number of data points, it could be not very handy, but in this case we see all the data points, and we could add additional data points here. We could say that this will be, let's put it green. So we see that. So that is how we could add some additional information here. Also very nice, and immediately when the points are added, this line chart looks more readable. Next function in make it readable section, it's a gradient for column chart. So you see that there are some values, and we have a gradient, like the lowest value is a very light light color, and the highest values are in darker color. Let's see how we could create this kind of chart. Here we have examples. Okay, but I will create it. I will create it from scratch to show you. Okay, we will take sales by date. For example, let's go to very details, and let's put a gradient on top of it. So I'm going to format again, and for data colors here, we see that we have a function button, and probably you recognize that for many color options, there a new version of Power BI, you could find this function button. When you click on this function button, it works like conditional formatting. So you could do, for example, use custom value, or in this case, like we will use a gradient, so the lowest and the highest. Let's say that, let's use, for example, red one for lowest and highest value. So when we click OK, we see that it's already changing. So especially when the chart is with more columns, it looks more interesting, and we already can see these larger values are more readable, and we again could look at the gradient and the gradient values. Or for example, let's do another formatting. We have the lowest value, for example, 2 million and 6 million, and let's use a fixed color for custom color, like 2 million and this kind of color. Look, yeah, and the different look. Maybe it's not super readable. Let's change it to starting like gradient is starting from this lower color. Maybe, and it's a little bit lighter. So Yeah, very interesting function. And as you've seen, we could use this gradient for or conditional formatting for different kind of color options. And next, very nice functionality if you're using maps. So Azure Maps, there are nice Azure Maps available in newest Power BI version. So how to use it? First of all, you need to add the Azure Maps into options. So it's a preview. It's a preview. So you need to in the settings in preview features, you need to check it in like Azure Map Visual. And if you check it in, so you will have this icon here. You could see the Azure Map icon. Okay, let's click on this Azure Map icon. Let's look how it works. Yeah, let's have the big map. As you see in the fields list, you need this is without geocoding functionality, so you can't drop here just address or city name or county name. So you need to use a latitude and longitude, the proper GPS coordinates. So I had the data set with that, and I will add a latitude longitude for some data points in Riga. And you see that this is Azure Map, Microsoft service. So it's already starting to work. And we have these data points on top of the map. We see that all these data points are found. And let's now add additional information. So here we see that how it works with 30,000 data points. Let's add a parameter for the size. For example, parameter 1 for the size. And we see the size differs. And for example, the category for the legend. And then we will have the different coloring for each of the categories. And again, because it's 30,000 points, it's working a little bit slower, but it's still we can see it. What kind of functions we have? Oh, something went wrong with the report. What kind of so it shows me error. Yeah, you could report this issue. I hope my file will not be closed. Okay. I will try to delete the, because we see that, okay. So I will show you this map again, but maybe already prepared here. It's loading. So, and what we can do with this Azure map, so we could put the data points here, and of course we could navigate on this map. It's a little bit slow. Oh, here we have. Let's zoom in. So let's see what's in fields here. Parameter D2. Let's remove categories for a while. And I'll look at it closer. Yeah. Yeah, it's again me saying that something wrong. Okay, it's a demo effect. So, so that you could understand that you could rotate this map, this holding the control button, so you could rotate it, put the colors, change a landscape, so you could use a different themes for background. So yeah, nice thing to play with. So I encourage you to play with this map. So it's a nice alternative for the maps we have already. Okay, let's go for next section. How easy to read. So it's more for usability functions for users. And first is a single filter apply button. So when we are like if we're publishing our report, we usually use different kind of filters here. Like we could use a country filter here for this page, product filter probably for this page, and then country product segment field in this segment filter. And you see that we could select now all the filters. So we could select in all these filters some values, and we have this apply button. And when we click apply, then only then all these filters are applied. So to enable this function, you need to go to options and enable this option, and also you need to on the report settings, no, but then you need to add on preview functions, and here you in a query reduction section, you need to move this filter radio button to the last option. Add a single apply button. So then it will work. Then you will have in the filter section this apply button. Okay, if any question, comments, please unmute yourself, ask, or write in chat. Okay, let's move on. Next, very interesting function I found out in one of the updates. Imagine that you are using buttons for sure. For example, like this arrow button, and with for example, if with bookmarks, you could use these buttons for navigation to other pages. So it's very interesting functionality. But what if you could do this navigation conditional? For example, depending on what is selected here in the Dropbox. So you select the Germany and then go to Germany page. If you select Canada, you go to Canada page. So very interesting functionality. Let's look at it. And here, for example, we have this drop down with the countries. You can see here, and we added the button. And let's delete this button and then add it again. So I saying insert buttons, and let's use any button like information button. It could be an image. So all the buttons actually you could add pretty the same actions to all the buttons. So and what I want when I clicking on this button, I want that we are redirecting to the page with a name what we have in this drop down. Like in this case, we will try out France because I have the page with the name France. So, and of course I need to create the pages with the names what I have in drop down. Then the value will work for it. So I click on the button, and here the action, I say on, and here's a new function called, so we could use a back function, open bookmark, drill through, Q&A, web URL, or in this case, page navigation. And when we click page navigation, we could like use a different functionality. But in this case, we will say that let's use a function. And we say that we will use this navigation based on field value. And we are choosing field, and we will say that country, let's use the country and first, which will be selected. We click OK. And now I will click on France. So let's look before that. Let's look at what's on France page. On France page, we have this functionality, this report. So what I'm doing, I'm clicking here, selecting France, and then holding Control in Power BI Desktop, clicking on the button, and we are redirected to the France page. So that is how it works. So that is you could build this conditional navigation. I think this is nice functionality. Next, what's really nicely done is a new mobile layout. And let's look at the new mobile layout. Look at the mobile. For example, here I added what I have here on the page, different visualizations. This is an image, looks like a mobile. I have here a drop down and some buttons. Buttons, for example, here's an example how the button name is changing because of what I selected. So you see that if I select different product names, the button name is changing. So how it's done, let's click on the button, and here's the button text. And for the button text, you have a function again. And if we look at the function, we say that we use a product name for the button. So everywhere when you see this function field, you could do a little bit customization. But in this case, let's look at the mobile view. We click a view, mobile view, and here on the mobile view, I will remove. I already did some mobile view. We don't need it. What's actually new here in this mobile view? We see that there's a smaller grid, so we could actually put more in this mobile view. And the most important functionality is that we could add, actually, we could overlay visualizations on top of images or on top of each other. So this is a pretty nice. So if we have the image as the background, we could add charts directly on the top on the image. So and we could create more option. We could create this mobile view more interesting, like having the buttons here on top of picture. So it's really nice upgrade for mobile view. So having the pictures here, adding slicers if we want, and this small grid also helps us to put smaller objects here in this view. So very nice thing. Okay, let's move on. Next one is a hierarchical slicer. Again, in the section how easy to read. So we have 3 more options in this. How easy to read. Let's go to hierarchical slicer. And how the hierarchical slicer look like. Yeah, so it looks like like this. So let's build again this hierarchical slicer. We are using the slicer functionality as usually. So it's a usual slicer object. And then we are putting different values here, like countries. So we could filter it by countries. So, and we see that how it's filtering, it's okay. But let's add the segments for these countries. So we have already the next level. So we could choose a government or government from different countries by holding control button, or we could select the whole country uh, as previously. And we could even go even deeper. Let's add the product here, and now we have the third level. So we could choose that for France, enterprise segment, and product Montana. So and we could see how it works for different levels, and we could go even deeper. So this is how the hierarchical slicer looks and works. So again, pretty nice functionality. Next function is how to select points in the line chart. And let's look at it. So we have this line chart. And when you draw the line chart, actually by holding the control button on top of the line chart, you could start select points like here. Yeah, and you see that these points are selected. Let's look how the selection, how we can use this selection. If, for example, let's add the sales amount here. And let's select some data points like these data points. So it could be used as a filtering. So it's nicely done as a first version of it. So we could use a control button for selection of the selection and deselection. For example, here we have the selected from this to this, and by control and selecting this, we by shift we could remove this. We could remove these points, so and have only these points. So it's quite simple, but it shows us that actually that in future we will have the more and more in chart functionality, for example, for selecting some data points directly in the chart and use it as a filtering option. Okay, move next. Next, very interesting thing, it works only in the service. So we need to use a service, and it's a personalization visual. So how it works, so you need to enable it in options, and then you will have this, you see this small icon for your tiles, and you could click it in a desktop, nothing happens. But if you go to service, like let's go to the service. Oh, it's not this one. Or yeah, I will open it in service. Yeah, let's look at the service and report. Report sample one. And here we see the same report we used, same report. And you see that here we have the same button, like this one for customization. And it's how the users could customize this visual themselves. So when you click on it, you have the personalization function. What you can do, you could actually choose different visualizations here. So you could change visuals directly in the report, or you could add you could change a legend, like from segment to product, for example, or you could add a new field or values, change values, or add a tooltip. So this is how you could customize the visual on directly on the screen without going into edit mode and doing the changes here. So again, very nice functionality here. Very interesting. Okay, and let's go to the last in how easy to read section. So we have this and two more functions to see. And this is a new Q&A experience. And this is really, really interesting. Why? Because when you use it Q&A before, so usually you struggled with the what's in data model, like what it means. If we look at the data here, if we look at the financial data here, what we have sales. You can see that sales, it's actually in the same time, it could be turnover, income. So many different words could be used for that. Or for example, probably we have the product, but we are thinking not like about it as a product, but as an item. Yeah, so there could be as synonyms, or there we have the data model country, but probably we are using it as a region, sales region, for example. And let's look how we could do it. If you do a double click on the screen, you will have the Q&A window here, and we will ask a question in natural language. That is how the Q&A work. And we say, show me total sales. And in this case, we will get an answer. We will get answer. So we see the answer because there is a column sales. So we can see that it's underscored with a blue, and it works. But for example, and let's say sales by, if I say that by the country, it will show as by the country. But for example, we don't count country. Yeah, sorry, country. And for example, we don't know, we have a lot of columns and we are not familiar with this model so much, and we say, show me sales by sales region, and I'm writing sales region. It's showing me the same number, so it's don't understand that it's by sales region. So what we can do, actually, we could go into modeling, and here we have the Q&A setup. And we have a couple of functions here, but most interesting here is a field synonyms. And if you look at the model, you can see that here we have all the kind of all the original names and suggested synonyms. Or for example, for the sales, we will say not sales, but user income. Okay, for the country, say that it is also sales region. And for the product, we could use, instead of product, we could use also an item. So it also works as a synonym. So you could train this, model by adding the synonyms. And if we're trying again, so you see that already the model is updated and we are writing sales region, and it works. Or let's say the total income come by item. So we don't have the columns like this, but it already works. So it's really nice. And when you are doing it on the service side, and you have this, like here we will have like not products but packages, for example, and we have this red lines by clicking. So we could say define packages in this case, or if you are on the client side on the service and you are a regular user, you could suggest something or add to model, send to model owner this idea to adding the new synonym for that. So you can see that this functionality Q&A becoming more and more advanced. So you could even use the Latvian names for that as a synonyms and different. So the different in different languages. So it helps you to use a Q&A properly. Okay, and we have so we are going very good in time from time perspective, and we have last two functions on the check performance section, and it's performance analysis and change detection. So I think it's worth to see because it's very interesting functions available recently. So let's look here. And what I have here, so I connect to SQL Server because this functionality works only with a direct query connections, not with all, but only with direct query connections. So I added the SQL Server connection. So connected to the SQL Server in direct query mode, so that we are connected, but we could refresh the data time to time. So, and I selected some data from this table, so I could show you how this looks in SQL Server. For example, here I have a table, and here we have the values. So we are selecting from here. Okay. And now, what can I do? Actually, I can now I put a refresh for this whole page. And if we click here on the click here for the format button, you could see that there is a refresh, page refresh, and I could say that let's do a auto refresh every 2 seconds, or every 2 minutes, or hours, or days. So directly when I put every 2 seconds, you see that this is blinking. It's reloading every 2 seconds. It's reloading data. We will say that no, not doing this right now. And of course, I will delete this one. And of course, probably we want to functionalities that it's not refreshing like every 2 seconds or every 2 minutes, but it's refreshing if something changes. So we want to put the trigger that if there is a change in data, like if it's new client, then do a refresh. If it's a new product, then do refresh. Or if it's a new sales record, then do refresh. And how to do that? Here in the modeling section, we have a new function. It's called change detection. And when we click on this change detection, we could set up this change for the if something changes in our data set. And in this case, we will say that like if the count or minimum or sum is changed, we will say the maximum, and we will say that if the new year, so if we will have a new year, then please do refresh. Otherwise, don't do refresh. And let's say that 5 seconds. And we click apply. And now you will see that new field is added to this table. And we see that it looks like change detection maximum for year equals the maximum year. So it's a regular DAX. And now nothing is changing, but we need to add here in the page filter, and we enable page refresh and say that not automatically refresh, but when change detection. And we see that the measure is change detection maximum for year and the 5 seconds. We could edit it and so on. So now if I look at the data, the idea, I will make it smaller. I will make it smaller so that you could see. And on other side, I will put this virtual machine of SQL Server. And now what we will do, we will add a new record with a new year, 2015. And when we will add this record, so in 5 seconds or even less, we need to see the changes in our Power BI report. So I'm adding record here. Let's wait, let's look. And we have it here. Let's add another. And if there's a note, year is not changing, there will not be refresh. I'm adding the record with 2016, 5 seconds, and we have this 2016. I will add additional record like here, March, with the March and 2016. I updating, and there is no changes for this. I will add the more records here. So we see that I'm adding records and no changes in this because the year is not changing. And until we add a new year here, and you will look at this, make attention to last column, it should increase. So adding new year and we have the 17 and all the records of 16 that we previously added. So this is how this refresh functionality is working based on this condition, if some value changes in database. Yeah, just reminding you again that this works. This refresh functionality works only with direct query data sources. So that's all for today. In our story, what's new in Power BI. Maybe you have some comments or questions about what's seen. Please write in chat. No questions? No comments? Everything fine? It was useful? It was interesting? Oh yeah, it was interesting. Thank you for feedback. Yeah, it's very strange if you are like alone in the meeting. Okay, so it was interesting, it was useful. So that's all for today. And thank you very much for coming. You will get this recording in the email. So I'm starting to send out recordings, links to the recordings in the email. And see you already. We have a exceptional meetup next week. So Ivis from the Zoom charts, he will come again and he will present the idea how to build the Power BI reports as applications. So yeah, you are very welcome to participate in next week's meetup. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Bye bye.